And welcome, folks, to the talk show, Let the Truth Be Told. I'm your host, Pastor David. And, folks, it's a Friday evening, and boy, we got a great conversation to talk about. We got some things to talk about. We're going to talk about Chicago going red. Brother Mark Carter is out there putting the word out there. But if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know you're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. I'm your host, Pastor David. Y'all come on in. Like I said, it's a Friday night. Y'all come on in. We're going to get it right. Come on. And if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know you're listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. And I'm your host, Pastor David. Friday Night Live, ain't no jive, right here at TECNTV.com. Y'all get it in. Share it around. Come on.
I can't fool myself, I don't want nobody else to ever love me. You are my shining star, my guiding light, my love that's free. There's not a minute, hour, day,
call your friends and let them know.
I don't love you. You're
listening to Let the Truth Be Told Radio. And I'm your host, Pastor David.
The days when I'm scared to touch you.
Y'all come on in.
I've been my daydreaming, planning not to say I love you.
Friday Night Live, ain't no jive.
Feelings deep enough to swim in. That's when you opened up
Kicking
your
off a
heart
Friday night. Luther Vandross. If you ain't got nothing to do, sit back and get you a brew or two. And let us party and come to you. Get you a glass of wine. It's prime time. Let us put something on your mind. Let the truth be told. Let the truth be told. I'd rather be the truth. They come from the line. Y'all come on in. Friday night, TECNTV.com. You can also find us on Rumble.com. David Lowe, 1057. Friday night. But if you ain't got nothing to do, y'all come on in and let us put something on your mind. It's prime time.
Woke up today, looked at your picture just to get me started. Called you up, but you weren't there.
Friday Night Live, ain't no job. Right here.
The phone can't be too late, the boss is so demanding. Open the door up, and to my surprise, there you were standing. Who needs to go to work to hustle for another?
Come on in and share it around.
I'll be with you, cause you make my heart scream.
Let the truth be told. Let the truth be told.
And I'm so glad
To the move your soul. Friday night. Y'all come on in. And if you ain't got nothing to do, call your friends and let them know Pastor David is on Let the Truth Be Told video. Y'all come on in. It's a Friday night.
I just don't wanna stop.
Luther Vandross kicking off Friday Night Live. Never too much.
And I just don't wanna stop.
Like I said, it's a Friday Night Live. If you ain't got nothing to do, y'all come on in. We got a great conversation tonight. We're gonna talk about Chicago going red. Friday Night Live ain't no job. I want to welcome you to the show, man. And we got a great guest coming in, my old buddy coming on in here. And we going to get a conversation to go on, folks. So if you ain't got nothing to do, folks, let us enter the truth zone and get it on.
Somewhere I read that the greatness of America is the right to protest far right.
On the bridge.
No justice, no justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Muhammad Ali has
Ali
just
had it
refused to be
right.
inducted into the United States Armed Forces.
as the Biden administration is opening new
How
ways for
can we fight
thousands
for
of
a
people from
country, a
Cuba,
loving country
Haiti,
that
Nicaragua,
hates
and
us?
Venezuela
Black
to
people
legally
raise
enter the
up.
country.
Is necessary
time.
by any means necessary.
By any
to
means
protect his life
necessary.
and property, especially in a country where the federal government itself has
Let's
proven that
get
it is
ready
either
to rumble!
unable or unwilling to protect the lives and property of human beings.
Backs up. Joe Biden's nothing but a liar, a
Global,
pedophile, and a thief.
universal, and coming from the windy city of Chicago, Illinois. Now it's time to let the truth be told with David Lowery.
Come on in. Friday night. Hey, welcome, folks, y'all. Welcome to the talk show. Let the truth be told. Thank you. Folks, I want to welcome you to the show, man. It's a Friday night, and we got a conversation that we're going to have. But first of all, let me give all praises to God and my Lord and Savior, Yahshua, for making it possible for me to be here. And I want to welcome all my first-time listeners, those who've been normally watching the show. Let me say this. The truth be told is really hitting some nerves out there. We've been bringing information to the American people and patriots across this country. I've been blessed to go on the American Family Radio with Chad Groening, about 250 stations. And it's through Project 21, as that I am an ambassador for them. And we're going to continue to put the message out there for the Black community and across the world and across this country that Black folks got pretty much tired of sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let me say this. See, Black people, we have been asleep. We've been asleep to the point where the political parties don't respect us anymore. See, because of our bad habits of not being educated voters, we've allowed through traditions, generation after generation, at least 60 years of Black folks voting for the Democratic Party. And I want to talk to Black folks with their common sense. I want folks to lock in and listen to what I'm saying and use your common sense to understand the situation that America is in and the situation that Black America is in. See, the situation that the American people and patriots across this country, we're in a situation to where our government has turned against us. We're in a situation to where Marxism and those who want to be dictators and to run this country, we're in a situation where just our basic rights, our normal lifestyle as American citizens have been turned around, not because the American people, but because of the Democratic and the political parties that we're seeing. I find it very disrespectful to the American people, and especially Black people, that we've gotten made a fool out of with the Democratic Party. See, the Republican Party problem is this. They only cared about as long as the country was rolling, as long as they were making money, as long as the white community was fine. There was no infringement on the Second Amendment nor the First Amendment. Then everything was cool. It didn't matter about what happened in the Black community because the Black community didn't do any research and find out about these parties and understand one thing first. If Black people was Republicans back in the day and Black people owned businesses and they owned their own economy, it was the Republicans who have helped Black community to achieve those goals. And I'm saying it because that's how the Black Wall Street got to the place where it was benefiting the Black community. It had its own economic engine, and it didn't need to wait on programs. It didn't need to wait on welfare. It didn't need to wait on Section 8 housing because Black people reinvested into their own communities with the Wall Street, and Black people flourished, but they were Republicans. See, after the split between the Dixiecrats altogether, when the abolitionists separated themselves from the Republican Party, from the Democratic Party, which was Dixiecrats, then they decided they didn't want to no longer go along with slavery. So it was the Republicans who stood up and helped Black people advance themselves and then in our communities to the place where they were when they was in power and in control of their own economics. But after the creation of the Democratic Party, and I'm telling Black people this that's listening to the show because there's a lot of talk about Black people going, the state of Illinois going red, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a second. But I want Black people to understand something. See, we need to understand what we're seeing today. It has not been good for the Black community. What we're seeing in our schools, what we're seeing in our community, what we've seen with law enforcement, what we've seen with the government, what Black people have endured over these 60 years since the great leaders like Martin and Malcolm King, we've regressed. And I appeal to common grassroots Black people. We can no longer overlook the fact that we haven't moved forward about anything with the politicians that are in office like Brandon Johnson and the politicians like Marcus Evans and Annette Taylors and all of these Flowers and all of these politicians and Yarboroughs, all of these politicians who are Black. And it's been their responsibility to uplift the Black community, but they're the ones who have destroyed it. And I'm letting Black folks know that at this very day, if we don't change the way we think, and if we don't change the way we vote, and if we don't be careful for the misinformation and the narratives that are being put out there in the Black community with those House Negroes like Roland Martin and, all of these aldermen who voted against taking Chicago off as a sanctuary city. That should have told Black people something right there. When Brandon Johnson and all them Black politicians, aldermen, did what they did to keep that off the ballot to rescind Chicago sanctuary city, they did it because they're going to be rich. And so in saying that, I got a great guest in here tonight. Mr. Binky, how are you?
I do, Dave.
Man, it's good to see you. We ain't seen you on the show in a while, man. You're looking pretty good over there, buddy. How's it been going?
Still breathing. I'm still breathing.
Listen, as I was saying in my monologue, and it's a heartfelt situation that I see in the Black community right now. And with the migrants who have come in, and the Black politicians have shown their hand to Black folks just to tell them and spit in their face and tell them, we don't care about you. We don't care about the Black community. All we cared about was getting into office. And so I'm letting Black folks know, and the American people and patriots across this country, because I'm asking white folks, I'm asking all Americans now to help rally around the Black community, because if we don't, and the Black community dies, listen to me, Black people, the Democratic Party has slated for the Black community to die. That's why they brought the migrants to our community. That's why they're using all these distractions with the wars. Their mission is to destroy the Black community totally. And if Black people, all 40 million, don't wake up, our communities will be gone. There will be no Black stronghold communities nowhere in this country. We'll all be mixed up. There will be no Black family structures. And it's all by design by the Democratic Party. Mr. Binky, you want to talk about some stuff that's going on here in Illinois the Democrats are doing behind Black folks' back?
Yeah, you were just talking about how the city council up there decided to keep the question off the ballot on whether Chicago should be a sanctuary city or not. Well, a sanctuary city is just is a city that's going against rules. They're going against laws, and the reason they're going against the laws is because they can benefit from it monetarily. You talked in the past about the money that Trump set back to Chicago for the Black community that got spent on the illegals in schools and stuff. And then now, I guess Pigster announced that all the COVID money that they had is gone. So it's going to.
You know what?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And you know what else they did too? And this is why I'm saying that the people here in Cook County, the rhinos are not telling us that they're taking money out of these programs. They took $1 billion out of the rental assistance program that the American people needed to survive during COVID. They've taken all of that money out of those programs, Mr. Binky, and they've given it to the migrants.
Well, yeah, and that's because they're expecting more money, and that's the problem. There is you got a representative, Cam Buckner, up in Chicago, and I'm gonna try to see if you can hear this. I'm gonna play his own words here.
Go ahead
and see if it works right here.
I can't hear it. I can still hear you. Can you hear it? I can't hear you. It's not playing.
Okay, you can't hear it? Okay.
No.
All right. Anyhow, he's sitting there, and what he's doing is he's saying, "Oh, wait a minute, we've got a problem. We've got to figure out how to deal with these illegals." And he says, "This is an all-black, all-Democratic committee that they're going to set up." Mm-hmm. And let me back up just a second. All Democratic. Let me just restate that. It's an all Democratic committee that's going to evaluate the situation about these illegals. But he had talked to his Republicans from downstate. That's all he says. And they're going to try to figure out how they're going to take care of this illegal immigrant problem. Well, here's problem number one. They're setting up a completely Democratic committee. They're excluding everything about any input from the Republican side.
Or the people.
Or the people. Another thing what they're doing is they're acknowledging a problem that can be easily fixed, but they've got to go in with this committee. What that is the Black community is going to pay for another program that they don't have no say-so about, don't have nothing to do with, but it's going to affect them up in the Chicago area because that's
the big. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, the majority of the Democratic Party is up in Chicago.
Yes.
And the majority of it is Black. So what else can you conclude is that the black community again is going to take a hit by their own black representatives that they put in office. So what Democrats are doing is they're totally ignoring any laws that's on the book.
Mm-hmm.
They're ignoring their constituents, and they're trying to figure out behind closed doors to fix a problem that they have already originally started. So
You know,
the black community better take heed again from you that their black representatives are going to make the black community pay a price again.
and Mr. Binky, you so right, because, and this is what I'm saying. We have some, I did a interview myself with Mark Carter and another young man. It was on Twitter, but it went viral about what we talked about. I brought Ben here from Steve's O'Banion War Room. I brought David Zahir was here from Breaking Point. They interviewed me first, and then they went on to interview Mark Carter and another gentleman. And so they're talking about making Chicago red. And I have to say this to my counterparts. Listen, this is a serious situation. To Brother Carter, I know you watch my show. This is a serious situation that's happening in the black community here in Chicago. This is not about getting on Twitter. This is not about going on the black news stations and every place that you can get your face on, brother. This is about the black community that need true leadership that can produce, not just talk. The situation is grim in Chicago because we're ground zero. And, we got a lot of carpetbaggers jumping up, wanting to do this and wanting to do that, wanting to get on this. They want to get on this show. But at the same time, they do not have the wherewithal to unite Chicago because they don't have the people behind them. And so I just talked to another one of my colleagues, and they were saying, "Well, Pastor, you was on the video too." And I'm saying to me, it's not about that. It's not about being on the show. It's not about getting the likes. It's not about going on these TV shows talking about flipping Chicago red when you don't even have the people behind you to do those things. And I have to let Mark Carter know, this is not a joke. This is for real. The black community is under attack. We are in a war. And brother, if you don't have the wherewithal, if you can't unite the people here in Chicago, I suggest that you get to a place where you get with the other leaders like myself and other pastors who can bring us together. Not just one person. I can't do this by myself. You can't do it by yourself. And nobody can. P-Ray, none of us, and I spoke to her, we can't do this by ourselves. It's going to take a collaborative effort of all of us. We can't fight each other because we already got the politicians fighting against us. And just like Mr. Binky said, black people, wake up. This problem was created by the Democratic Party. It was the Democrats who opened the borders, who went against Trump, who had the borders closed and was making sure that people came to this country, was registered and fingerprinted. Y'all have to use y'all common sense. I don't know about you, but ever since the Biden administration been into America, America has went down the tubes. They opened the borders. We got all sorts of people in here. And now you have the audacity to the Democrats know that they're in trouble for 2024. They know they're in trouble. That's why they brought the migrants here, to try to steal another election. But more importantly, this is the time that the black community wake up and know that we're fighting a corrupt system, and we're also fighting corrupt black politicians in Chicago and across the country. after they kept it off the ballot to be in the sanctuary city, black folks, we already see all of these aldermen that voted for that, they need to be put out of office. Anthony Beale, all of them, they are playing a game on us. They don't care about, he's not standing up to act like that he really care about black folks, because if he did, he would have already did something. So black people, wake up. We're in a fight for our lives and for our children. We got to wake up now and we got to unite. So I'm saying it because of this. Black people, what they're about to do now is create another committee. See, the Democrats right now are about to create this committee Mr. Binky's talking about to examine on what to do with the migrants. See, this is all to throw the rock and hide your hand. They already know what to do with the migrants, Mr. Binky. They already know that it's a federal law in place. They're illegal. They should not even be in this country.
Let me
all
add,
they have to enforce the law. Go ahead.
Let me add to that just real quick.
Go ahead.
Not only are they trying to create an all Democratic committee behind closed doors. Remember, the Democrats control both houses. So whatever they decide they want to dream up behind them closed doors, they just open that door up and say, this is what we're going to do now. It don't matter if it's right or wrong. It doesn't matter if it's left or right. Let's not look at Chicago in my term here. Instead of trying to say, Chicago, we're going to turn you red, let's put it like this. Chicago, let's turn you right.
Exactly.
You've seen what's been going on up in Chicago. You've been experiencing what's going on. You're getting the repercussions of incompetence, selfishness, and authoritarianism of one party having control of everything. So it's blue or red, that's kind of a bad word, I guess. So instead of being wrong, let's turn Chicago right. See what's
exactly.
Grow from what's gone, see what's happened, and make change to it. Because the only way you're going to keep that change or make that change is if you hold people accountable. The black community right now is ticked off at the Democrats. They're saying, Democrats, we're done giving you that chance. We're done. We're not going to vote for you. We're going to vote for Republican. We're going to go for Trump. Let's look at it, all right, instead of saying it that way or looking at it that way, let's look at it, okay, we're done with going the wrong direction. Let's go the right direction. Leave the party out of it. It's just like Trump said. How do you know what's going to happen if you don't give me a try? Okay, instead of being wrong, going the wrong direction, start going the right direction. You got to have a different direction to accomplish something.
Well, I have to say to black people across the country, we have been going in the wrong direction, because had we been going in a good direction or the right direction, our communities wouldn't be like this. And I don't know one black person that the condition that the black community is in right now, with the schools, the crime, and all the lack of all the things that any community, everybody else got, the black community don't have. So I don't see how black folks could sit back after what we've seen in the past 3 years under this Joe Biden administration. See, the trick was, and we fell for it. This was all planned, black people. They didn't just wake up yesterday or 8 years ago and make this decision. This decision was made under George Bush way back in those days, that they was going to bring this comprehensive sex education into play. It was under the Bush administration when they captured the churches with the charitable contribution money. So it was all planned. And that's why when Bush implemented the contribution money for the 501c3s, he captured the church, because now pastors were so used to getting the money to keep their stuff going. They went out and got $1 million churches, and now they're getting money from the federal government to help keep these churches going. And so they captured the churches because now the churches are going against God. They're going against God for the money in the building and the lifestyle that they're living just to please the people. So Black folks, we really got to understand this. Our community has been under attack a long time. They just felt now that it was the appropriate time that the Black family structure is down to like 5%. It used to be 80 and 90%. It's down to 5%. Our children are so uneducated, man. I told this story. I went to a Family Dollar, man. I gave the young man a $100 bill. The computer was down. He couldn't even count. He didn't even know what bills to get out to pay me. The manager had to come over and show him how to give me my $55 change. These are our children. They can't read, they can't write, and if the computer don't show them something, they have no knowledge. So Black community, it ain't about going red. It's about doing the right thing for our community from this point. And we already know what the Democrats are doing is all wrong. Like Mr. Binky said, don't worry about the party, just worried about doing the right things for the community. That's how we gonna survive, Mr. Binky.
Yeah, let me throw some numbers at you on this. How these illegal immigrants are getting around here. It's an organization called the International Rescue Committee, and they bring in $1.4 billion, and 415 million of that is from U.S. taxpayers. And this is where it comes from. Bureau of Population, Refugees, and Migration, $178 million. This is tax dollars now.
Mm-hmm.
Health and Human Services, $122 million. Bureau for Humanitarian Assistance, $114 million. This is all in conjunction with the Red Cross.
Wow.
Okay? All this money is taxpayer money, and it's going to this International Rescue Committee. Basically, what they are is open borders. They're helping. It's not just U.S. either. Europe is being flooded with migrants, illegals. That's been going on for a few years.
Since they got into office.
Yeah, well, all this money is a tax. We're paying for this. It's not just these illegals coming here and destroying our towns, taking money from, in this case, in Chicago, the Black community. It's also affecting everybody else. It's not going to be just a Black problem. It's going to be a whole state problem, all the people problem.
It's going to be an American citizen problem. That's what it is.
And it all could be stopped if the federal government did their job, and if the state made the federal government do their job. It's not sit there and say, oh, we're a sanctuary city. Oh, we're going to ignore the federal law because we can get federal money. And that's what Pigster's doing right now. Well, we're out of COVID money. Look at New York. Look at New York.
Man, these cities, our cities, and I have to say to Black folks, look at our cities. Look at it's all happening in the Black community. It's all happening in all the major Black cities where the Democrats run the cities. They're totally disrespecting the Black community. They're taking resources from us that we should have had. Because you can remember here in Chicago, when we've been going to this governor saying, we need help in the Black community. We need some economics that need to be put into Black community. All y'all Black people across this country, no, I'm not lying. We have been fighting for reparations for over 50 years. It's been 60 years since Malcolm was talking about reparations to the Black people. Have we gotten it yet? You have to ask yourself these questions. Why haven't we got it yet? The Jews get billions of dollars every year for a Holocaust we didn't even commit. And the Holocaust and the deaths of Black people are going on to this very day, this moment, this second. A Black man is being killed by law enforcement. They're killing each other. But what do we have? Nobody ever came up and said, you know what, Black people helped build the country. You know, we should give some reparations. Everybody's saying, well, I didn't do it, but you benefited from it. We're the only people in this country who have not been made whole for the Holocaust that have happened to us. And as long as we sit back and we don't say nothing, see, just like Black Lives Matter, the bunch of homosexuals organizations, they were allowed to riot and do all of this stuff in the name of Black Lives Matter as if they were helping Black people. They did it. It's only 2% of them. They did it for a show, and they got trillions of dollars. Black people, our communities are the ones who are dying. It's our children who are being locked up and killing each other. It is the Black community that's being inundated with illegals. It's the Black community that lack everything that everybody else got, and we still voting for the people who keep saying, we talking about the Democratic Party, and they keep telling Black people like Negroes like Obadeli, telling Black people, well, we gonna make sure the migrants got a place in Chicago, and Black people, y'all just sit down and wait your turn. We've been waiting a turn for 60 years, and we have nothing. Black people, if we don't wake up out of this slumber and this sleep, it's not about turning Chicago red. It's about Chicago becoming a righteous state again, where people do the right thing, where the politicians will stand up and say, no, we can't have the homosexual stuff in the school, where the pastors will stand up and say those things too. We have to find righteousness. We have to find righteous politicians and put them in office. We have to find righteous pastors who will stand up. Because if the Black community goes with the Democratic Party again, and if you go with the Boulay crowd, with the Roland Martins and all of them, and all they're going to give you this narrative, the Steve Harveys and all these Black radio stations telling Black people it's okay to vote for Joe Biden, and look at our country. It was Joe who put all these illegals in here. And you got them Black people in high places, the Beyoncés and the Jay-Z's. They don't give a shit about Black people. Because if they did, they would have put money together and helped rebuild our communities. We got to stop listening to these clowns, and we have to look at our condition, and we have to do the right thing. Mr. Binky.
Yeah, well, you know, you brought up reparations, and I'm a straight up. Government is the last person that I would go to and ask for something. And my example of that would be, they created a welfare program, and that welfare program did what to the Black community? It destroyed it. It took the moms and the dads, separated them. The kids had a one-parent home and made the Black community dependent on government. Government, in my book, is somebody I don't want in my life. I don't want to ask them for anything, because that's not their job to provide me. It's you and I are supposed to provide for ourselves and our families, and exactly. Government is supposed to be making sure that you and I can do this. But all they've been doing is keeping you and I separated because of color.
Yep.
They're coming into the schools and dividing these kids up, putting in their heads that today I'm a boy, tomorrow I'm a girl, and then provide services to medically change this stuff, to mentally destroy them. Government is in there, they're deciding right now what kind of cars we're supposed to drive, what kind of energy we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to buy. They're trying to come up with a committee of disinformation. Government wants to be able to come and say, well, we're going to monitor Facebook, we're going to monitor Google and everything, and we're going to make sure there's no misinformation going on. Now, this is government. I don't want government in my life. I want government out of it. I want them out of my way. I don't want them telling me what to do, how to do it, when to do it. I want to be your friend for what you do, and I want to be your friend for what I do. And that's the way we're going to have to get along to understand, like Dr. King said, don't judge my color of my skin, but the character, content of my character. That's what we've got to do. I can't sit and say I want government to fix a problem they started. They're not going to do it.
Well, Mr. Binky, this is I'm a realist. I'm a realist, and I don't sugarcoat nothing. And a lot of folks think that, well, Pastor, you hard. No, I'm not hard, but I'm for real about what I see and what I experience. I'm for real about families who call me that are fearful of losing their homes and their relationships. I'm fearful because I have parents calling me saying, I don't know what to do, Pastor. They're trying to teach my son to hate me. I don't know. All of these things are happening as a pastor and as a man of God. I have to try to counsel people and let them know how God is still in control. But also, I have to be able to try to help them remedy the problem. I'm not going to just say, just go ahead on. I pray for you. No, I'm going to say, I'm going to jump on the front line with you. I'm going to stand in the middle of the war, and I'm going to stand in the gap and do what I'm supposed to do to try to make situations right. And that's what we should be doing. So the Black folks, I'm saying it because I woke up at 3 o'clock every morning. The other morning, it was 20 below outside. And I was up praying, and I thought about all the Black people and the homeless people. I thought about how veterans were out there who put their lives on the line for this country, who have went away. They've gotten maimed and damaged and injured, and yet they're in wheelchairs and they got prosthetic legs and all of that. And I thought about them at 3 o'clock in the morning. How are they trying to stay warm? And I started to pray for them. And I prayed hard because how could the Democratic Party, and see, we can't blame the Republicans, but just like Mr. Binky said, the Democrats have controlled both houses. They have a super PAC. So if they made a law that said that we want to kill a certain group, they could pass it in Illinois because they own both houses. But I thought about all those people sleeping under there and how they probably was freezing and not eating, not having a meal or taking a bath. I thought about all those people, no matter what color. And I thought about why are they in this condition? And then I thought about how the Democratic Party and Joe Biden and J.B. Pickster and all the rest of these aldermen who voted to keep a sanctuary city. I thought about all of those criminals. They should be tried for treason to come against the American people and such that you would keep them on the streets in inclement weather, but you would go against the federal laws in this country and take illegals and open up schools and give them money, and you build tents and you provide spaces for them. You're providing everything for them, and you won't even take care of your own people. And that's why I'm saying to the Black community across the country, those listening to this show, Black folks, we have to stop being silent, because silence means approval. To y'all watching the show, y'all have to use y'all common sense and know our condition is in dire straits. Our children don't have a future. The Black community will be dead if we don't get these Democrats out of office. I'm telling you, God blesses a child that has his own, and you can see the country is not being blessed. And you have to think about this. Why is it that Donald Trump is being persecuted by the Department of Justice? Why is the government coming after him for things? We saw Joe Biden with boxes of documents. He hasn't even been charged. But yet they charged this man. The lying, all of the stuff they're covering up. They're prosecuting him because even though you might not like Trump, Black folks, he still got some righteousness in him. Because any man who will fight against abortions, and 54 million Black and brown babies been dead in the womb since Roe versus Wade, any man who will stand up against homosexuality and say, hey, I don't want that in the school with the children, it shouldn't be some more. Any man that could have this country back on track, any man that believes in God. Because see, I've heard Trump talk about God, but I ain't heard Barack Obama say nothing about God. I ain't heard Joe Biden say nothing about God. I haven't heard the Clintons nor the Bushes say nothing about God. Joe Biden starts stumbling, blah, 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 talking about the Creator. So to the American people and patriots, especially to Black citizens across this country watching this show, it's only going to get worse for us if we don't stop right now, if we don't start investing into our own selves, into our own country, if we don't stop and stand for each other. Let's quit worrying about flipping Illinois to be red. Let's worry about doing the right thing and the righteous thing for the Black community. Mr. Binky?
Yeah, I mean, for an example, what the Democrats did, parents were going to school board meetings and stuff about these drag shows and child pornography books and stuff like that. They said, we want them out. I mean, here's the parents speaking. Democrats went into session, and it created a law saying that if those books are removed from a library, that library is going to lose part of their tax dollars. I mean, come on. Here the people are speaking, and because the Democrats have power in both houses, they completely ignored what the people are saying. They don't care what we say. See, that's why we've got to understand why we were given a republic form of government. Because if under a democratic form of government, the majority always rules over the minority. Under a republic, the people control. See, in a republic, the government is restricted, not the people. In a democracy, the people are restricted. Which do you want to live in? What life do you want to live in a country that's supposed to be free for everybody? Yes, imperfect in a few cases. Yes, imperfect. But there's always room to fix the imperfections. But when you come down to it, you're either going to be a free man or you're going to be an enslaved man or woman. Pick what you want to be. And it ain't got to do with just color. It's the people that you put in office. You hold them accountable. You make them do their job and make their job hell when they're not doing it.
And Mr. Binky, you know, you're so correct. And like I said, I want folks to really understand something. That this leadership that we had is not God-fearing, nor does it has the best interest of the American people and patriots, best interest for us as a country. And we must make some changes. And it has to be immediately. I want the American people to think about this for a second. We're in 3 wars. You don't hear much about the Ukraine. You hear the president of Ukraine coming to America telling the American people to dig deep in their pockets and give him more money. Don't worry about your economy. Just give us money. See, that's a disrespect that the Biden's continue to do. And secondly, this war in Israel, let me say this. It's horrible that Israel will not stop this war. It does not want to stop this war. The Palestinian state is so weakened right now, but the reason why, and I'm telling you, they don't want to stop this war is for two reasons. The first reason that they continue to get the money that they're not getting for the Ukraine through Israel, and all the money is going out the back door. That's why they keep the war going. Two, because of the fact that all the natural gases that's under the Gaza Strip that the Palestinians owned, Israel do not want to stop the war because they want to push them completely off the Gaza Strip. And I just read an article about America is not asking any questions. America is not telling the Israels to stop. They're continuing to turn their head away from it so that they can continue the mission. And the mission is to push those people off that land all the way to Egypt and get them off that land. So their mission is not that there be another Palestinian state. The Palestinian state is going to be cast out. It's going to be destroyed because that's the reason what Israel is pushing for, so they can take the land. Thirdly, to the American people, we started a war with Iran for what? We're fighting Iran for what? We got 3 wars going on, and the Middle East conflict is steady getting worse and worse. To the American people and patriots across this country, we have a real problem because we probably got terrorist cells from everywhere, China, everywhere, already set up in the United States. I can guarantee you, if we allow this leadership to continue, the American people blood is going to run red in the streets. Because when this war jumps off, just like the Trojan horse, we'll be sacked from within. And the American people is going to go hand-to-hand combat just for their very existence and for their very lives. We better get ready. Mr. Binky, your last words.
Yeah, well, I see a lot of stuff in Chicago that I see positive. They're tired of being treated the way they are. I don't think it's just the black community, but the biggest part of it is the black community. And I'm glad to see that there's pushback going on. I'm glad to see that people are waking up, and I hope everything changes up in Chicago. I mean, you're either right or you're wrong. And I've been wrong many a times in my life, but you keep that straight same path of being wrong all the time, you're not going to go no place. So people in Illinois just got to figure out that for the last 20 years that Democrats have ran this state, they've ran it into the ground. We've lost jobs, we've lost property, we've lost businesses, we've lost population, and we've lost morals and principles. I mean, I don't know how much lower it can go, and I hope people wake up and see, to start going a different direction and make it better.
Well, folks, like I said, the old clock on the wall. I want to thank you, Mr. Binky, for coming in and giving us the information that you gave us. I just think it's important that Black folks need to understand that we can no longer sit back and we can wait. We can't wait anymore. We can't take the wooden nickel. Like I said to Brother Mark Carter, man, it's got to be a united effort. This is just not about us being in front of a camera. This is about the after effects. It's what we do after this. It's how we organize ourselves. It's how we have to stay at the polls, because let me say this, they're going to cheat. They're going to do everything that they can. They're worried right now. Michelle Obama said she was terrified if what would happen. Well, if you ain't terrified about what's happening already, if you're not terrified about what we see, then I don't know. But she shouldn't be terrified. She's rich, Mr. Binky. But in saying that, I'm going to get out of here, Mr. Binky. Thanks so much for coming, man. God bless, man. Anytime. It's a pleasure, brother.
Great. Thanks.
Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to the show. It's a great opportunity to really make people think, especially Black folks, man. Um, and before I give my last words, let me thank um, the Living and Driving While Black Foundation as we continue to address issues with our lawyers across the country. And also, I want people to know that we are planning an event. I just think that from this point, we need to understand that the only way that things are going to change is if Black people start coming together to deal with the issues that we see every day. So, in saying that, these are my last words. To the patriots and the American people across this country, we have to become one America. Black Americans, white Americans, it's not going to change. If Black people don't understand our situation and what is happening to us with what we see, how the Constitution is under attack. The very things that we hold true to this country, our freedoms, our lifestyles, our communities, our cities, they're under attack. And we see that they're under attack. America's become a godless nation that's come against God. It continues to show itself as what we see. So I'm telling the American people, it's time for us to rise up. It's time for the American people to put all their differences aside. It shouldn't matter whether you're Black or white. All should matter is that we are Americans. And no matter what have happened in this country, the American people have always came together. Pearl Harbor, Korean War, Gulf War, Vietnam. All of these wars and all of the atrocities that this country has faced, the American citizen have stood together in unison and rise up to address the issues. So I'm saying to the American people and patriots across this country, let us stand for righteousness. Let us get God back in this country. It was built on In God We Trust. Let all other Americans converge on Chicago, February 17th, right here. I'm asking people to come to my church, 129th and Austin, Refuge Church. Let us discuss the strategies on what we can do as Americans to uplift our economy, to save our children in the schools, to be one America, and help upraise and help us rise the Black community out of ashes. February 17th, we'll give you all the information. I'm asking people from across the country who watch the show, let us rise up, put God first again, and we can save this country. Seek the kingdom and its righteousness. That's what God said through Christ. Seek the kingdom and its righteousness, and all will be added to you. God bless you. Peace. Rise up, America. Arise up, Black people. Rise up that we may be counted true, because God takes care of a people that has his own. And we'll rise up, like the waves will rise up, in spite of the ache, we'll rise up, and we'll do it 1,000 times again. God bless you and peace.